Hello, my name is Mia Spangenberg and I translate from Finnish, German and Swedish into English. Today I'm excited to share an excerpt with you from Pirkko Saisio's cult classic, The Red Book of Farewells. Pirkko Saisio is a Finnish author, a very famous one. She has written over 20 novels and as many plays that have been staged in places like the Finnish National Theatre. She won the prestigious Finlandia Prize, that's Finland's most prestigious literary award, for The Red Book of Farewells when it came out in 2003. It's since become a cult classic, a book that's read to this day, and I'm very excited that Two Lines Press acquired the rights to this book, and I had the opportunity to translate this for them into English. It came out this spring with Two Lines Press. First, I'll be reading to you a short excerpt from Finnish and then continue with an excerpt from the same chapter in English. This book is a work of autofiction, and it features a young Pirkko Saisio who is discovering her identity as a lesbian and finding her voice as a writer and an actor in 1970s Helsinki. It's a book that's queer actually in all respects, not just because of the protagonist, but also because of her writing style, which is one that cannot be easily categorized. It's very poetic, it's very profound, it features direct address, and is very fragmented as well. But this first chapter will give you a taste for the narrator and the kinds of things that she's interested in. So I'll start first with the Finnish. Here's the Finnish version, Punainen erokirja. And I'll be reading from the first chapter. Seitsemäs päivä elokuuta 2002. Helle polttaa ihoa ja alumiiniveneen laitoja. Ilma aaltoilee kuin vesi. Mutta vesi on täällä kirkasta, läpinäkyvämpää kuin ilmaa, vain heikosti vihertävää. Syvyydessä huojuu rakkolevää. Varjoani pelästyvä pikkuahven vilahtaa kiven alle piiloon. Honksu hyppää paljain jaloin polttavalle kalliolle. Varo käärmettä. Niin kuuluu sanoa, kun rantaudutaan ulkosaareen. Varo käärmettä. Muista varoa käärmettä. Älä sitten unohda käärmettä. Käärmettä ei ulkosaaressa voi unohtaa, mutta jos sen unohtaa, hetkeksi se ilmestyy heti. Se kimaltaa helteen kuivattamassa kalliohalkeamassa edellisvuotisen kaislaroskan päällä liikkumatta. Sen musta heikosti suomuinen nahka kimaltaa. Kimmaltavat vernissä pisaroita muistuttavat silmät. Ja kalliohalkeamassa makaamalla se vaarantaa koko saaren, sillä se ei ole yksin. So that's a short excerpt from the Finnish. And I'll continue now with my English translation from the same chapter. August 7th, 2002. The heat bakes our skin and the sides of the aluminum boat. The air shimmers like water. But the water itself is clearer, more transparent than the air, with only the faintest green tinge. Bladderwrack sways in the depths. A small perch, frightened by my shadow, zips under a rock to hide. Honksu jumps onto the burning rocks in her bare feet. Watch out for snakes. That's what you're supposed to say when coming ashore on an outer island. Watch out for snakes. Remember to watch out for snakes. So, don't forget the snakes. You can't ignore snakes in the archipelago, because if you do, even for a second, one will immediately appear. Glistening in the crack of a rock, coiled on top of the remains of last year's reeds and dried by the heat, it doesn't move. Its black, scaly skin gleams, as do its eyes, like drops of varnish. And merely by lying in that crack in the rock, it makes the entire island dangerous, because it isn't the only one. There are hundreds of them under the rocks and gnarled tree roots and the dry, crackling reed beds, near the decomposing swampy bogs that bubble black. You can't see them, but they're there. They're underfoot, somewhere. The water doesn't move, neither does the air. The sun is moving as it has no choice, since time is passing. Time has to pass, because that's the arrangement. But the sun doesn't look like it's moving. From the great expanse of the sky, it trains its hot, immobile hatred on this island, which no one remembers ever having visited before. The sun doesn't allow anyone to gaze on its brilliant glory, just like a god. The sun blinds the insolent, just like a god. But this hostile, motionless island isn't silent. In winter it's silent, maybe snowing, or it could be that the ice constantly crackles. A ship blasts its horn over the cleared path through the water. Or maybe it doesn't blast its horn. Why would it? But its motor rumbles evenly. There could be a hare carefully moving over the snow, its claws leaving a faint scratch on a buried branch. Or there could be a fox or a bobcat. There could be someone skiing by, a person turning to whistle to their dog. Maybe the dog barks in response. The sun is dim then, hidden behind a hazy mist, indifferent. But not now, not now. Terns and gulls cry in the sun-bleached sky. It's hard to see them, they're high in the sky. The weather isn't about to break. A plane the same size as the birds drones in their midst. There are so many mosquitoes, and the sound they make is tiny but persistent, demanding. The mosquitoes form a veil over my head, airy, conforming to my fretful movements. There's only a little water left. Even the deepest pools among the rocks stink of mud and muck, and on top of the water, a greenish-black carpet bubbles and moves nervously. Millions of organisms. I couldn't name a single one, but they don't care. All fight for space to live. And then there are the snakes. They're out there somewhere, and there are a lot of them. They're silent, those snakes. The ones who die in the wilderness die completely. The sun is the earth in which they are buried. Don't come over here. Honks was vomiting into the water. Her shirt is sweaty and stuck to her back, and her hand gripping the rock face is inflamed by the sun. I walk over. A seal is lying between two rocks, lying on its back with its tail in the water. I've seen seals on TV, at the aquarium, and in the sea. Seals are wet and round. They also have wet, round eyes and bushy whiskers. They don't have any ears with the earlobes and all. They have holes where the ears should be, and they know how to open and close their ear holes, just as they know how to open and close their nostrils. They have mouths too, but I imagine no teeth, because they usually keep their mouths closed in what looks like a smile. I've heard a seal cough before, in the sea. But this seal is lying on its back between two rocks, and it has a hole in its stomach. Its mouth is open, as if it's screaming. A mouthful of long yellow teeth, like a wolf's. A crow is sitting on the spotted skin of its stomach, and its beak is covered in blood. It smells of death, not of freesias, calla lilies, or lilacs, not of pipe organ metal, not of the paper and hymnals, not of the perfume of funeral guests. It smells like death, like fresh bodies on a street in Bangladesh, or a dump or a package of ground beef left out for the cat on the table of a cabin and forgotten. We're standing at the edge of the heath, sweat stinging our eyes when the phone rings. It's Touko Siltala, my publisher. I can hear the traffic through the line, cars and more cars, the screeching of a tram, and even the murmur of voices. Touko must have his window open. In Helsinki, on the street, it must be hot. About that message you left me. There's a dead seal here, I say. Touko, who's confused and trying to relate. Oh, I see. And I say, someone shot it. It's got a hole in its stomach. Touko, trying to get to the point. Really? Well, about that message. And I say, and I know I should talk about my manuscript, but I just can't help myself. This is such an incredible island, though. We've never been here before. Oh, really? Yeah. Touko clearing his throat. So you've lost some of your manuscript, is that right? It's absurd to talk out here, I say. It's like the world is being born. And Touko again. I see. I've lost my book titled The Red Book of Farewells. It's completely disappeared. I wrote a book by that name, and then, at 5 o'clock in the morning, when the sun was just a threatening red, I leaned my hand on some keys with words I don't understand. Control and Alt. The text turned black and incomprehensible. I wanted to get rid of all that black, so I did. I pressed the Del key. Later that morning, before leaving for the island, the only island we could come to on a day like this, many people people came over to look at my computer. It's gone. Yep. How many pages? All of it. The whole book. The whole book. It's all gone. The whole book. After the phone call, the island turns ordinary. I look at my watch for the first time all day. It's 3:20. The light has changed. The sun has moved and now burns from an angle. Should we go back? I guess we should. The gulls and the swarms of bugs riding the breeze no longer belong to me, and I no longer belong to them. They'll stay here, and next summer there will be other bugs swarming in the air. I'll inevitably be different too, and the Red Book of Farewells, the book I'll write all over again, will be different from the Red Book of Farewells that disappeared at 5 o'clock in the morning on the 7th of August. I'm not coming back to this island. I doubt it. And that's from the introductory chapter to Pirkko Saisio's The Red Book of Farewells, a wonderful work of autofiction that I recommend to anyone who is interested in Finland's queer history from the 1970s, who's interested in experimental writing, and who's interested in a very relatable and funny protagonist. Two Lines Press will also be publishing in my translation the other two books that belong to this trilogy. This is actually considered the last book in the trilogy when the fictive Pirkko Saisio is a young woman. The first book will be coming out in fall of 2024, and that will cover Pirkko Saisio's life as a young child. And then the middle book will come out probably in 2025 and covers the fictive Pirkko Saisio's life as a teenager. And I encourage you to pick up all of them, and if you do, I hope you enjoy them. Thank you so much.